What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another acoustic R&B and Neo Soul guitar lesson. In today's video, I would like to discuss with you and analyze together what it means when we say R&B feel. What is that laid-back feel typical of R&B and Neo Soul? Well, in order to do so, we'll start from a classic R&B chord progression. One of my favorite, you might have seen me playing this on the channel already, possibly in a different key. Today we are in the key of E flat minor, and we do start from an E flat minor 7. Okay, obviously we'll have plenty of embellishments to discuss together. Then from here I move to another chord in the same key, which is going to be the flat 6 major 7, and it's a C flat or B, however you want to call it, major 7. Okay, and even here we'll see plenty of embellishments. And then I'll go to a classic 4 minor 5 minor using an A flat minor 11 and a B flat minor 11. Okay, so that's the basic chord progression. Worst case scenario, you can take away from this video a new R&B and Neo Soul chord progression made by E flat minor 7, C flat or B major 7, A flat minor 7 and B flat minor 7. Okay, but let's try to understand something more. Well, the first thing I want to mention is that we really need to be confident about the timing, okay, when we play an R&B chord progression, especially if you play it on acoustic guitar, and especially when you don't have, drums underneath or a drum beat or a backing track, and you're just by yourself trying to give that Neo Soul vibe just with your acoustic guitar. Well, let's say that you count this chord progression like 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So the second chord always changes on the offbeat number 2, okay? So in the first bar you play 1 on the E flat minor 7, and then you say end number 2 on this second chord, A flat minor 7, downbeat number 1 of the following bar, and B flat minor 7, offbeat number 2 of the same bar actually, okay? So we say 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And we start hearing already the backbeat, like the snare of the drums, okay? That's on 2 and 4. Then the other really important thing for the feel is alternating longer and shorter sounds, okay? So on the first chord, if I do start with my pick playing a downstroke, okay, especially if I also include a hammer on and I pull off with the second finger, which is typical of R&B guitar, that's a long sound. So in order to add a contrast to this long sound, I then want to play an upstroke, which is a staccato feel, okay, so a very short sound. Okay, if I play a long sound even here, I will be possibly off time, but surely I won't have any chance to immediately play that backbeat that we mentioned on the beat number 2. Like that, okay? Whether you just want to mute the strings, stop the sound, or if you actually want to create a percussion, that's completely up to you, but you still want to interrupt the sound of the chord just before the beat number 2. And then obviously after that backbeat on the beat number 2, you are on your next chord, okay? There's B, let's call it B major 7, but we know that in the key of E flat we should actually say C flat, okay? And what we want to do here, first of all, because we are only using really the top 3 strings, E, A, and D, we want to do a hammer on, okay, with a little finger on the fret 8 of the D string, so that effectively you move from a B6-9, C flat 6-9 basically to a C flat major 7, like that, all right? And then after this you want to add a little bit of sauce. And how do you do that? Well, a good way is to play this chord and moving it back and forth very quickly with a slide, okay? And then what I like to do at the end of my slide backward, I like to take off my little finger so that I hear again, okay, that 6 of the C flat 6-9. Okay, obviously we're not playing the ninth, so effectively this will look like a C flat 6 only because we are not using any other string, but I think of it as if it was a C flat 6/9. Okay, so what I like to do is this sort of melody, okay, which is really good, and it's something that you can also use if you play improvisation, lead guitar, but I like to do it while I strum the chord. Okay, and you have to be really soft, really gentle when you do it. Okay, the first strum itself, it's not heavy, it's actually soft and slow in between the strings. Okay, and then from here I like to slide because I know that from B or C flat I will have to reach the A flat, so I like to do this to open up again, to have that contrast between short and long sounds. And what I can do is on arpeggio, okay, I'm gonna play 4 single strings, but at the end of my last one I'm gonna play that upstroke, stopping it shortly. Okay, so that's gonna be another staccato. Okay, that's something I really like. And again, even when you think of these, you know, these are 4 16th notes. When you think of these 16th notes, don't think of them as 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a very straight like we do in other genres. Think of it as with a laid back feel. Here is where we get a laid back feel, almost like a shuffle which applies to pairs of 16th notes. You see that as soon as I add that little bit of swing and you know, that accent on the backbeat 2 and 4, you already get that vibe, okay? And then because you've stopped that last note really short, you can use the backbeat, you know, number 2 with your right hand. 1, the and a 2, okay? And then you can play a longer sound this time on the B flat minor 11. Now guys, when I play this, I only think of, you know, the chord progression and the vibe, the feel that I want to achieve, but I will play variations every time. I will rarely play it twice in a row exactly the same, okay? And now we'll see a few variations that you can do with different chords, but mainly it will be a case of either playing arpeggios or strums to create a variety of sounds. So for instance, if I want to say for the whole rest of the bar on that B flat minor 11, I will get something like, okay, with a 4 string arpeggio even here after the strum, okay? But I could do things differently, okay? Let's have a look at a couple of variations. Well, first of all, I could include a diminished 7 chord, like a D diminished 7 chord, and we'll be using this just before hitting back, you know, the E flat minor 7, all right? So that you can play like, okay, or even shorter, like, and then back to that E flat minor 7. Now, this is not the only way of doing it. You could potentially slide this chord, as I explained in that video that I mentioned, 3 frets forward and you're still playing the same chord. So you move from a D diminished 7 to an F diminished 7th, and then you're back to E flat minor 7. That's another option that you've got, guys. Okay, so in that first case, this sounds like, or if you want to play them both, okay, just different variations, again, to add a little bit of sauce to what you're playing. But even in the first 2 chords, you still add embellishments, like we said, you know, on the E flat minor 7, you do this, okay, and the vibe, the actual feel is all in here, you know, and the hammer-on pull-off that you want to control, you want to be precise with the right hand on which strings you're about to play, and then you want to play an upstroke only on a few strings, making sure that sound is really short. And even when you reach the 2nd chord, you can, for instance, play hammer-on, another strum, maybe a shorter strum, anyway, you have to be soft, and then that embellishment, okay? Okay, so that all together with that first chord. Okay, And the more you practice it together, the more you practice these two chords together, the more you will get into that vibe, okay? So you can start from something as simple as this. Then, for instance, add your diminished seventh chords. And then get into the proper vibe. And so on, guys. Obviously you've seen that the chord diagrams are on screen, same for the chord analysis, but if you also need a tab of string by string, note by note what I'm playing, you will find it on my Patreon page. Visit my Patreon page and feel free to download it. If you become a patron, you will also support this channel to keep these lessons coming. Okay, guys, one more thing to mention about the feel, the R&B and Neo Soul feel, is that you need to also alternate the dynamics when you play loud and when you play, you know, soft. This is a huge part of getting that feel, that vibe when you play just by yourself on acoustic guitar, okay? Eventually you will have to move while you play. If you manage to play this without moving, more likely you're not into the right vibe. You didn't get the right R&B feel, okay? Because if you add that swing, those embellishments, that sauce that we saw together, it's very likely that you will inevitably move while you play, and more importantly, if you're playing for somebody, you will make them move as well. Right, guys, that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. More resources are on my Patreon page. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.